Hello family and friends. Today we're going to be doing some maintenance on this bed. It's a bit chaotic. There's a lot going on in here. And we're going to install some ice plants. They have two different types. And we're going to put those in. Everything in this bed is full sun. And this thing has turned into like a giant bouquet. So we're going to go through and do some maintenance here. We have the garden phlox in here. We have the Rudbeckia. The Rudbeckia is the first thing that I'm going to take care of with some deadheading and give you a few tips. Now these Rudbeckia, they were moved from another bed, and they are finally adjusting to their new spot, and they just have to be deadheaded. And well, these Rudbeckia are going to be transplanted, but for now I'm just going to pot them up until I figure out where I want to put them, because we have to make room for this Thialand Giant that's in here, and also the big red coleus is taking up a lot of space. A few other things will be moved in this bed. We're going to have to shuffle some things around to get it like we want it, and pull some weeds in the process. Okay, I'll be transplanting this Rudbeckia. Then after I move it, we'll clean it up, deadhead it, and try to get as many roots as possible. This plant's been moved a couple times, and I'm surprised it's still alive. I gotta turn the camera over to here. Okay, popped it up, and I do believe this pot's gonna be too small, but it's big enough to keep it alive until I can find somewhere to put it. And while I'm waiting and looking for somewhere to put it, I can clean it up. It's got some spent blooms on it, so I'll be taking these back to where I see blooms, cutting off these spent blooms back to where the growing blooms are. Like this whole section here is it's spent, so I'll be cutting that back. And I'll show you some other scenarios. Like on this one, these two are still good, so the one that's spent, I'll cut that back to here, and you still have these other two flowers. In this situation, I'll cut it back to this point, because that's a bud that's about to open. There's a lot of spent blooms up here. That encourages the other blooms to open up quicker, and plus it makes the plant look a lot neater. And in this situation here, we will cut this one down to this point and still have these blooms here. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this up real quick, and we can get back to the rest of the bed. Plenty of spent blooms. We're in the beginning of August, and the Rudbeckia can really handle the heat. But right now, I'm just going to clean them up with a little basic deadheading. It's not going to be as tall, but it's going to look fuller and less stressed. And some of the broken ones, if they have blooms on them, I just cut them off anyway, because it just makes the plant look neater. May as well cut this one off. Darn. I'm going to go across the top. I broke that one in the process. Okay, so now looks like an entirely different flower. And next year it'll be a lot fuller and more blooms. That's the Rudbeckia right there, aka Black-Eyed Susan. We also have balloon flowers in this bed. See how this bud right here looks? Looks like a balloon. See, actually those are the petals that are encased like that, and they are developing, and when they open up, they look like this. This is the balloon flower. A lot of grass around it. I'll be getting this cleaned up too in the process. This is another one of the flowers in this bed. Have the electric orange sun patience, the garden phlox, and plenty of weeds to pull. So we're going to go ahead and get all these weeds out, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're finished. Going through with the claw and loosening up all of these weeds. There's a garden phlox here with the nice blooms on it, and we'll be going through deadheading what's spent on that. The zinnia, This has several blooms to deadhead. And this balloon flower, there's buds all over that. These are all spent blooms. We're going to deadhead those also as well. The giant red coleus. This right here is 3 feet by 3 feet, 3 feet high by maybe 4 feet wide. And we have celosias in here, torch plants. Torch plants on this side as well. The calibrachoa. And more weeds. We're going to get this whole bed cleaned up and show you what it looks like afterwards. I'm going to move a few things. There's the Thialand Giant right there. That will be the tallest, biggest thing in the bed. Once we get the bed cleaned up, we're going to be installing more ice plants. Now these are different from the ones that we have already in the bed. They're from the Wheels of Wonder series. They are the Pink Wonder with a yellow center there. It fades from orange to yellow to white. And also we have and this is the Fire Wonder. It has a red petal that fades from orange to yellow to a white center. We'll be installing these once we get the bed cleaned up. Now the spent blooms and seed pods are entirely different. You can see here, this is where petals were sitting. And this one here is a bloom that's developing. See, this will turn blue and then open up like this one. Will open up. So, what I'm going to do is go through and cut all of these off, because if the plant sets seed, it will stop blooming. All of the nutrients will be diverted to developing seed instead of blooms. Next, we're going to deadhead these zinnias. It's obvious what needs to be done here. You can see that this is your spent bloom. We'll cut that back all the way at the growth point where the leaves. We'll cut it back to the leaf, all the way back to the growth point. And let this continue to flourish. With those being deadheaded, it will speed up the blooming process. There's other buds here that are about to open. See this one here? Yeah, that's about to open. And this one also. And I'm going to go through and get these spent blooms. Okay. I'm going to do that all around the different zinnias in the bed while we're cleaning. While we're pulling weeds and deadheading. Also going to cut back this garden phlox because, well, there's a few blooms that haven't opened on this spent part, but we're going to cut back. We'll sacrifice a few blooms to get a stronger plant next year and leave the one spike with the blooms on top. That nice white bloom with the pink center. We have the yellow zinnias out here. They are really getting big and bushy. We're going to be moving a few things around in this bed for more balance and also to get the Thialand Giant closer to the middle. What happened was we planted that and the top of it broke off, and we thought it was done, but the roots continued to grow and now it's flourishing. And we put in some other plants. The Rudbeckia was one of them. But now we can move this to the center. And we're going to take half of these zinnias off here and transplant those in between this area. And we're just going to change around a few things to get a different look so that the bed is more balanced. But before we do anything, we have to get all the weeds out. Once we get the weeds out, then we'll know where we're going to put the ice plants and separate the zinnias, fill in that gap there, and go around the perimeter. We're going to go around the perimeter with the ice plants because they are low growing and spreading, and so we'll be able to see them on the outside edge of the bed. All right, dig a hole for the ice plant. Eventually we're going to extend this bed and it's going to be bigger. And I want to make sure that I get all of this ice plant without damaging it. Okay, going to be moving this ice plant because it's a low spreading plant, and with all the other taller plants in the bed, I want this where we can see it. I'm going to put in some Miracle-Gro garden soil. Got that down there prepped and ready to go. So I'm going to pop this up and move it. That's one thing about gardening. Beds just continue to change because things change, and sometimes you want things to be different. You may get another plant, so you have to move plants to make room for others. So this is my ice plant here. I'm going to be putting that into this good soil. And I don't recommend transplanting in very high temperatures, but we're going to keep an eye on this and make sure it stays pretty. I'm going to keep it watered. And one thing about this, the soil can dry out around these before watering. So they ought to be fine right there. It's not too far from their original spot, and they shouldn't be stressed with where they are. They should be just fine. So I'm going to put those in, and everything in this bed is full sun. It looks shady here now because we're under an umbrella, so that we don't burn up out here working, and plus we get better images when we have an umbrella. In order to make room for this Thialand Giant, we are going to move this zinnia. I'm going to move part of it. Actually, it's more than one plant, as you can see here. This is a plant right here by itself, and this is another plant. Several plants in here. I had a different video of a hanging basket that I separated and got several plants out of, and I spreaded those out in this bed over here. The zinnia is really spread, and this one has gotten kind of big for this area, and plus it's going to impede where I want to put the Thialand Giant. So we're going to take several of those out and put them in a different spot in the bed. So looking at the zinnia, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the zinnia and move it away from this electric orange. Okay, this zinnia we're going to leave this part, and we're going to transplant this part into that area. So first thing I'm going to do is prep the hole, get that hole prepped and ready to go so that the roots aren't exposed to too much air. Okay, putting in some good soil, the Miracle-Gro garden soil, and I'm going to pop up the zinnia. Okay, I got all of the roots, which is very good, or most of them, and got some good loose soil so that when we water, the water will go directly to the roots. Ready, and I'm dumping in some Miracle-Gro garden soil, which is way more than enough. And in this case, all the transplanting we've been doing has been helping get rid of the weeds at the same time, so it's like a twofer. So when I pop this giant up, this vinca is coming up with it. So to avoid disturbing the roots, I'm just going to move both of them together. Pulling back my soil. Okay, and Thialand Giant and vinca together, and I see where the root ball, where the top of the root ball was. I'm going to keep that at the same height with the grade and just fill it on in. This Thialand Giant is closer to the center of the bed, but the bed may change shape along the way through the season. It's going to change shape because we're going to be constantly improving it, taking things out, putting things in, and that's one thing about beds. They're constantly changing, well, our beds are. And I damaged it a little bit while moving it, but I think it's going to be fine. And another reason I think everything's going to do well here because the soil is moist. And right now we're in the mid 80s, mid or upper 80s, and the soil is moist. And we're going to keep an eye on everything out here. And on these red coleus, she's going to be clipping off of these spikes off of the top. And we have the other plants in. This thing is just flooded with color. And we have the garden phlox in here. I was about to deadhead these, but those are blooms that are about to open up down here. So I'm going to leave those be. And we should get another flush of blooms this season. We're going to put the ice plants on this outside edge here because they're low growing, and we'll be able to see them in front of the taller plants. And they're perennials, and we're in zone 7, so they'll come back for us. But during the winter, I may cover them up with leaves. I'm not sure. I'll have some leaves on standby to possibly cover them up with. But they'll be going on this outer edge here. They are the Fire Wonder from the Wheels of Wonder series. Fire Wonder ice plants. Some good Miracle-Gro soil. I already have my holes dug out for the ice plants. And I'm going to go ahead and get these in the ground because we need the water. Right here, I'm over. Okay, they're not root bound, and they feel really heavy because it rained last night and they got watered nicely. So we mixed in the Miracle-Gro with the native soil, which is kind of sandy, and it's drainable. Okay. This one going in. I don't know if you can see it. And the last ice plant. These will be able to get full sun. You want them to get 6 or more hours of sunlight. And you want the soil right to the top edge of the root ball. And it can dry out between waterings. This was a really good day to plant these, because we were getting rid of the weeds and doing some transplanting, and the transplanting helped to get rid of the weeds. I mean, it's been a good day today. These are from the Wheels of Wonder series, the hot pink wonders. Absolutely beautiful. So we got those in. Got this bed finished. And a little bit of weeds to pull. A few more weeds to pull and some watering. Yep, that's going to be it for today. I'll do updates on this bed to see how things are doing. And really enjoyed getting in here and doing some deadheading, some maintenance, and pulling weeds. A lot of times when you see the videos, everything just looks so clean and textbook looking, but today we went through the reality of what goes on when you're gardening, and part of that is pulling weeds. Yeah, routine maintenance is required to keep your beds looking nice. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button so that you can get all of our videos, and the notification bell so you know when they'll be posted. Enjoy your day. Alright, all we got left to do is pull a few more weeds and water.